So, how do you describe yourself professionally?
That's a great question that I've been trying to finally pinpoint now that I'm 62 years old and I've already had a bunch of manifestations of this career. And I think I finally found it. I found it in one of the concepts that I meddle with in science policy studies, which is the knowledge broker and boundary spanner. Because that's in the end a lot of what I've done most of my life. Now I have a multidisciplinary background, meaning I did a lot of different things, got degrees in different disciplines, which was frowned upon a lot in each of these little churches because there is a sense of scientific discipline is a there's a sense of belonging. So I have this and I've been trying to translate why a biologist that is also a sociologist and knows the history of the science wouldn't look at the situation like that. You're looking at the object wrong. You don't understand the object. You don't think like the other scientists do. So I was the one translating scientists to social scientists and vice versa. And then once I was out, I was translating everybody to everybody. My
Eh,
career was not really planned, but it got here as somebody who does the research, but translate the research from other sources to users, to final users.
And what training or certifications do you have?
So I am both a biologist and a sociologist. And these disciplines and practices in Brazil, they're not regulated by the government. So we don't have a licensing body. And I have a kind of ideological stand against certifications in most cases. I believe in certifications when you have a body of practices that, if not done according to a certain standard, can be dangerous. So you have an equipment and people who very complex equipment and all the chemists who know how to deal with that equipment have a certification, blah, 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 to use that stuff. But I think fencing in subdivision, any subspecialty of sociology is not a good thing for sociology, for science as a whole. If I say, okay, knowledge brokers are only the people who have this and this and this, I am probably working against the idea of knowledge brokering itself that requires this openness. That so I don't believe in that. Now, science policy, science studies in general, that's no certifications is available for that. That's basically you are a very academic person looking from that perspective into this object that you constitute in the research school of thought inside biology. So who would ask for certification for something so esoteric, so not practical at all? So this is the kind of world I've been navigating from academic disciplines that don't need certifications because they're not practical to the application of those things. That's the crazy part, because I am applying. Like if you Google that, I didn't invent this term. There are other people out there who are talking about this, but there's a remarkably small number of sociologists going into this.
What have been the biggest challenges then you faced as a knowledge broker with the various fields?
I, I think they were different challenges in different stages in different kinds of projects. I'd say that knowledge brokering in the type of configuration I work with is actually a lot of fun because the challenge is the client, is the user. And he's going to define what he wants to solve, what kind of problem he has. And you're going to say, okay, in my toolbox, there's this. If we look at your problem like that, and if we analyze and give you back your problem in terms of certain types of data or variables, we can look at, did you like the way we looked at it? So cool. We'll try to find a solution there. It's very creative because it's not a given that your client will be satisfied. And the solution, people asked me to solve problems because the problem didn't have a name. You call the person just such random things that maybe she'll find a name and a solution for the problem. I think a lot of people who work in knowledge brokering like that have similar weird stories.
Then, what are some common misconceptions that people have about social research and knowledge if they're outside of your areas?
Understanding the social interactions and interests involved and how to accommodate the interests of different. This is just soft, right? You're not going to solve this problem like that. You're not going to understand. Or when you try to explain something, no, this concept is actually socially constructed this way. And people dismiss you at a risk, because the second step is what you said, the predictions you made happen. And that's the only situation they will, okay, maybe you were right. But I think we're still in a stage that a lot of practical applications of a social understanding of whatever is the object still not a given. I remember I was working with this gym. I never consulted for them, and but I was also always around. I was a face of. I taught recycling courses to the coaches, and they were all young men, the coaches, with few exceptions. So I taught them certain training principles, but I introduced the correct execution of certain things. One of them is something called the deadlift. It's a lift and it's fun. Boys like it. They always. Oh, once I was done, I was walking through the gym and I saw the boys in the corner doing deadlifts. And he called the manager and said, "Did you remember what I told you? You told me I could teach them to do this, and that they were going to keep doing, and it's going to damage your floor. It's going to break the floor. Actually, the way they're doing, I don't give you 3 weeks, the floor is gone." The solution is a very cheap platform. I gave him the platform, the design. He didn't do it. And I'll tell them just to put some mats underneath. Some mats. That boy over there is already banging the floor at 200 kilos. It's 400 and something pounds. In 1 week and a half, the floor was gone. And the guy was, but how did you know? That's very simple. This is a social dynamic you're going to see in every gym like that. These are boys. They're between 18 to 25, 30. That's a natural dynamic they assume in places like that. And they're producing a lot of testosterone too. And that gets heated. It's like a game, like little kids, and they're going to keep doing it. I told you it was going to happen, because that is the social dynamic that happens in these kinds of places. And but nobody takes it seriously until they have to. There are worse things, like when you understand some form of violence is going to happen, because it is going to happen. It's asking. The conflict is happening in the partition of space. They're competing for the war, and it doesn't. So I had situations in sexual violence. What's going to happen then?
So, what are some typical tasks and responsibilities that you have when you are doing different aspects of your work?
It's hard to say what's typical, because I'd have to choose one track, for example. So the gym situation, I was called to interpret and possibly solve conflicts. And the conflicts usually involved space. So my task was usually actually intuitive. It's said you need to change the location of things. It's very simple, actually. Most of the things that you do some ethnography work, you sit and you look and you talk to some informants. Frequently, it's just to change, put all that equipment over there, put it in the other area. So these people don't compete for the mirror, and because they have different aesthetics, and now they're going to mobilize all these discourses about aesthetics to attack each other. And in the end, the solution is just to avoid the limited resource in the middle. So that's one in terms of gym ethnography. There's more complicated situations when you have in sports scenarios where you have semi illegal, like violence or discriminatory behavior, that's harder to solve. And my experience, sometimes it's not solvable. That's hard. But changing style of communication that the management adopts with coaches or with clients, that's one of the things that I'm called to do. But clients don't know what to expect. They call me to solve something. Usually they think the solution is going to come in terms of a course. So they come, can you teach a seminar here? And maybe these guys are fighting, but then actually the project is, why are they fighting? And to talk to the parts and understand what's at stake there. Very hard to talk to management or owners who are not part of the serious leisure that sport or fitness represent, because that's the thing, isn't it? And that's where we as sociologists are so useful. We understand stages of development, so we see different cohorts making use of the space, of the shared space in different ways. We can look at that and we see what's going on. We know that those boys over there, they are involved in something much more serious. If you say that's a hobby, they're going to be offended because it's a serious leisure, which is a good theoretical model to analyze stuff like that.